morning and welcome. I'm Reverend John Riley, Senior Minister of Unity Palo Alto Spiritual Center, and I'd like to welcome you to our live celebration service, Shelter and Grace Edition. We're so glad that you decided to tune in today. What we want you to know is that Unity is a spiritual movement, an inclusive spiritual movement, welcoming people from all walks of life, teaching positive, practical spiritual principles so that you can have that experience of spirit in your life. We're here. We're glad that you're here today. We teach opportunities to practice positive, practical spiritual principles in your life, and we are a self-funded spiritual center. So if you feel uplifted, if you feel moved by today's service, we invite you to make a donation, to like, subscribe, and to follow us on your favorite social media channel. And we're just so grateful for your support. Thank you much. Thank you very much for being here today. This morning we've got Joe Angelis as our platform leader, and Margo LeDuc is our soloist with Russell Norman on piano. And if you have a moment, just take a moment to check in now on social media. If you're on Facebook, if you're on the YouTube stream, either one of those, put a little note in the chat saying good morning to each other. We're so glad that you're here today. And now we begin our service with our opening song. So Margo, take it away.
Open, 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 Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely, open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love, open my heart to love, open my heart to to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart. To see you. Open, open my eyes, open my soul, open, open.
Thank you so much, Margo, for that beautiful song. Good morning. I am Joe Angelis, and it's so good to connect with all of you this morning. Welcome to Unity Palo Alto's online service. We are part of a worldwide movement of prayer, publishing, and education, teaching positive, practical spiritual principles that you and I can apply every day to help us live a more joyful and abundant life. Unity is a spiritual movement. We are welcoming and inclusive, and wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are welcome here. And we have 5 core principles that guide us in our spiritual path. First one, our first principle, God is. There's only one power and presence active in the universe and in our lives. And you can call this God as source, spirit, and from our fall book, Being, and the one that I love recently, Divine Benevolence. And divine benevolence is the substance, intelligence, innate in every person in all creation. And that is our second principle. And our third principle, thoughts in our mind produce after their kind, which means we have the ability to affect our world. And our fourth principle is the practice of prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation helps us connect with that constructive, creative power of God to work in us and through us. And our fifth principle is the practical application. So as we live according to these truths daily, we become what we were created to be, the living expressions of the image of God, which Unity calls the Christ. And these 5 core principles guide us in living our vision statement. And I invite you to affirm it with me, to affirm our vision statement with me. Together, centered in God, we co-create a world that works for all. And so it is. And we are a welcoming and vibrant community with many virtual opportunities for spiritual growth, sacred service, and celebrating our community. And there are still few open spots for white fragility. Why it's so hard for white people to talk about racism. It's facilitated by Karen Friedman and Brenna Franzen. This book study is for white people who recognize that systemic racism exists in our country and want to be part of the solution. You can register on our website online. And Unity Palo Alto Connections is a new way to connect online with our spiritual community. We have 2 connection groups open, Tuesdays at 2 with Francis Mancraig from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. I actually part of that. Tuesday evening connection with Karen Friedman from 7:30 to 8:30. So these are great opportunities to connect with our spiritual community, to uplift, to inspire, to support, just to laugh. And we do laugh in there. So you can sign up on our website once to receive the Zoom link to these 2 connections. Then, by popular demand, Michael Clements has extended his Desserts on Call pick a party through November 1st. So you sign up and Michael will contact you for your order. And check this out, guys. From carrot cake with cream cheese frosting to pistachio cranberry biscotti, those 2 alone, definitely 2 delights that you do not want to miss. So for more information on these and other opportunities, you can go to our website at unitypaloalto.org. You can also check out our social media channels. There are so many ways to connect with us and share the good news that is Unity Palo Alto. If you are watching us on YouTube or Facebook, we invite you to pop over to the chat room and greet each other, or you may simply put your hand in your heart and send that love to our friends in Unity. If you are tuning in for the first time or you're back from a long absence, we'd love to hear from you. We invite you to fill out our online connection card, which can be found on our website at www.unitypaloalto.org/live. Happy Sunday, everyone. And we now turn it over to Margo for our call to worship song.
I say a tender yes to everything that comes to me. My heart is open, I am free. I open to all that is. It brings me to my knees. I surrender. I am peace. I surrender. I am free.
Thank you, Margo. And now for our reading from the Daily Word. Today's Daily Word is faith. I will read our affirmation and then invite you to affirm it with me. With faith, nothing is impossible for me. Would you affirm that with me together? With faith, nothing is impossible for me. With gratitude, I use my faith to trust in the good that is always present, even when it has not yet manifested. As I pray with faith, I discern the truth that always endures through the most difficult circumstances. As I concentrate on harmony and love, all thoughts of lack, limitation, and discord simply dissolve. As I speak with faith, I use positive words to express my belief in myself and others as divine beings. As I act with faith, I access deep, lasting strength and fortitude that help me surmount any challenges. Inspired by faith, I move forward with confidence. Nothing is impossible for me. And our Bible verse for today is from Matthew chapter 17, verse 20. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to the mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. And now a solo from Margo.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. I see trees of green, red I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Ooh, what a wonderful world. Can you imagine what a wonderful world.
Good morning and welcome. Well, we are in the second invitation from our Fall Enrichment program based on the book, The 5 Invitations, Discovering What Death Can Teach Us About Living Fully by Frank Ostaseski. Now, last week we began with the first invitation, and that was don't wait. And our practice for the week was to live with mature hope. Now, mature hope is a little different than hoping things come out for the best, but mature hope, as Frank talks about it, is really that idea of faith, of knowing, of hoping, of focusing on how we show up, rather than hoping that things will turn out in a specific way. So instead of that, we use a mature hope and hope that we show up in a way that's awakened and enlightened and meet things in our lives from that perspective. Then we were releasing our clinginess, our clinging to what we want in the world, our clinging to what we don't want in the world, and just allowing things to be. And that led us to the third practice, which was embracing the present moment and practicing forgiveness. Allowing that forgiveness consciousness to be prevalent in our life, every moment of our life, and being willing to be in the present moment and be with what is. And so that brings us to, in fact, we had an affirmation, and I'm going to go ahead and read that to us. I'll put it on the screen so that we can affirm it again. This is from last week. Our affirmation, together, embracing what is, I open the door of forgiveness to endless possibilities. I step out authentically in grace to make my world a brighter place. And so it is. And so filled with that, we come to our second invitation. And that is, welcome everything, push nothing away. Now, I'm going to invite you to just take a nice deep breath and really sink into that and feel what it feels like for you. Welcome everything, push nothing away. How does that feel for you? Now, I have to tell you that this is, of the 5 invitations, this is the one that I have the most resistance to. And I don't know about you, but sometimes there are things in my life that I'm not so happy about. I don't necessarily want those certain things in my life. You know, there are things like, I don't think that in 2 years, we're going to be sitting around going, hey, honey, wasn't that a great pandemic? I don't think I'm going to be doing that. But what I am going to be doing is noticing all the good that appeared even in the midst of what is happening right now. For me, it's a sense of personal growth, definitely, of technical growth, figuring out how to do all of this, of family, of connection, of coming together. And in fact, I've seen in our spiritual community, some have really embraced this and done so much more to come together. Whether it's online through Zoom, whether it's checking in with each other. But as a spiritual community, I've seen folks really up their game in terms of meeting what is here and simply going with it. Now, welcome everything. If we're working on a goal, or a target or a dream and we want to accomplish something, we want to become something, then of course we're looking for those opportunities. We're looking for those opportunities to step into that expression. But sometimes there are too many opportunities. Sometimes we can get distracted. And sometimes we can get off course and kind of spin our wheels on things. And those are the ideas that come to me those ideas that really pull me away from the intention of this invitation of welcoming everything. That sometimes there are things that they don't feel good, but despite my preference, despite my bias in this situation, I welcome it anyway. And that's the spiritual welcoming that we're looking for. Not the human welcoming of, I only want good things in my life. I don't want all of the bad stuff. I just want good things in my life. So the real question is, excuse me, where's your focus in this? So as life shows up, are you resisting it? Are you looking at it from that perspective of, I really don't want this in my life and I'm going to resist it? Or are you willing to accept what's happening, to be with what's happening? In Unity, we call that non-resistance. Now, the difference is, when we have resistance in things, we're trying to push them away, right? We're trying to bury them. Now, sometimes those things that we don't want come up, and so I'm not going to go there. So we practice avoidance. It may even lead to what we call spiritual bypassing. And that's the idea of pushing down, suppressing whatever's happening, suppressing our feelings, not paying attention, not wanting this here, so I'm going to pretend it doesn't work, and I'm just going to use my spiritual affirmations and just ignore it. But the problem is that situation comes along with us, or it comes around again because it's a lesson for us. So instead of avoiding it, welcome it. Not from the perspective of, oh, I'm so glad this situation is here, but from the perspective of, there's another growth opportunity. Now, for me, what I've noticed is that things like this, they happen periodically, right? We may have that trigger within us that gets triggered by this person or this situation, but it all comes back to that one trigger. And for me, with acceptance, with non-resistance, it's like, oh, hello, old friend. Let me welcome you in so that I can practice healing again, so I can practice forgiveness again. As opposed to, oh my gosh, there it is again. I'm going to push it away. I'm so angry. I told him not to do that. Didn't I tell him not to do that? I told him not to do that. So instead of getting wrapped around the axle, or that the situation is occurring again, we welcome it. We don't push it away. Now, Frank has a great formula for what happens when we resist things. When people, situations, experiences, conditions in life show up in which we experience pain, and there will be some of those because this is a human experience and that's part of what happens here. And when some of that shows up, pain plus resistance equals suffering. That's when our experience becomes one of suffering. So it's really important to recognize, to be aware of, here's an opportunity for me. Here's a situation where I am resisting something because I'm feeling suffering. I'm feeling stress and anxiety. I'm feeling worry. I'm resisting what is. And when I let go of that resistance and just flow with it, things get a little easier. My breath goes back to normal, right? My anxiety starts to lower. And I start to getting back into the groove of things. And so resistance really limits the opportunities that we have. It limits us because we're shut off from anything that situation has to teach us. We're shut off from any of the good that might result from that experience or become a result because that experience was in place. Just like, as I mentioned earlier, my family coming together. My family, in fact, just last night, Ethan said, gosh, this is kind of cool. It's nice having you guys here all the time. I can just come out and say hi, and then he goes back into his cave. But a little bit more connection. A little bit more sense of family. And so that is what has happened as a result of having this shelter and grace experience. Not that I'm grateful, not that I'm happy that I have to stay here all the time, but what has come of it, what I have made of it, and what my family has made of it. So, but when we resist it, we limit those opportunities. We shut them down, and we can't get to them anymore. And so non-resistance is the practice. That's what we call it in unity. It's called non-resistance. It's allowing what is to appear, whether it's situations, conditions, or people. It's allowing those things to simply be. It's to be in the present moment and just simply allow them to be. And then activate our mature hope, where we are consciously responding in a way that we want to respond. Consciously responding in a way that reveals our higher self, that allows that higher self within us to express more fully. It may not be our preference, but instead of pushing it away, we welcome what is, so that we can learn from it, grow from it, move through it, experience it. So we can leave that lesson aside, and that thing doesn't have to follow us around all the time. And when we meet it with non-resistance, we open ourselves to that lesson and to the endless possibilities that exist. We open ourselves to new inspiration, new ideas. We open ourselves to new ways in which to create our good, new ways in which to interact with our relationships. It just opens us up when we live with that idea of non-resistance. Now, Frank says this in the book. When I say that we should be receptive to what is present itself, when I say that we should be receptive to whatever presents itself to us, I do mean, oh my gosh, this is what happens when we do it live. Let me start over again. When I say that we should be receptive to whatever presents itself to us, do I mean that we should let life walk all over us? Not at all. When we are open and receptive, we have options. We are free to discover, to investigate, and to learn how to respond skillfully to anything we encounter. So the opportunity there is for us to experience that, to be open and receptive to more possibilities. Now, in Unity, that idea of non-resistance was set so clearly for me by an author, a Unity minister and author from 40 years ago or so, named Imelda Shanklin, where she talks about this idea of who you are, your true self, your spiritual self. It's that idea that when you're expressing from your higher consciousness, when you're expressing from your Buddha mind, when you're expressing from that Christ consciousness, that spark of divinity that's within you, when you're expressing from that, that's when you are one with the flow of life. That's when you are spiritually whole in the flow of life. And that's when non-resistance, that's because you are non-resistance. And that's how you show up. Just simply welcoming what is. I think it's a great illustration of this principle in the allegories of Genesis, where Noah is in the ark. This is Genesis 8, chapter 8, verse 6. Now, what's happened so far is that it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And after the rain, Noah's sitting in the ark, in the sea of water. And what he does is he opens the window and he lets out a dove. And the dove sets out to see if the waters were abated from the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest, and she returned to the ark. Then after 77 days, he sent the dove out again, and she returned with an olive leaf in her mouth. Now, in Unity, of course, we look at these allegories as metaphysically. We look at it from the state of consciousness. How can this apply to me in my life? What does the parallel? How can I use this in my life practically? Well, the way we interpret this is, after the 40 days of the storm, and we've all been in that place when we have had storms in our life. And then after the storm, we're sitting kind of in that sea wondering, just trying to find solid ground for ourselves. Have you ever experienced that? After that big turmoil, now you're just trying to think, okay, here I am floating. I need to find solid ground. I need to ground myself back and get myself back into alignment with that spiritual principle. And so the dove represents non-resistance. The dove went out, it got tired, found nothing, it came back. No big whoop. The dove didn't complain. The dove didn't blame Noah. The dove didn't argue. The dove just went out, saw nothing, and came back. No resistance, that's just what is. We didn't find solid ground yet. And so we move back into a time of contemplation, into a time of meditation, into a time of prayer, so that we can elevate our consciousness and affirm who we are, that we are that Buddha mind, that you are that Christ consciousness, that you are that higher self. And when we ground ourselves in that internally, within our own consciousness, that's what 7 days means in the Bible. Whenever anything has to do with a 7, it's when that we have that spiritual completion. We have made it there. Then Noah opened the door again, the window. The dove flew out and came back with an olive leaf. And the olive leaf represents the ideas based on divine wisdom and love. So after centering ourselves, we look for solid ground, and finding that solid ground in that prayer and meditation, we now are gifted with those divine ideas based on wisdom and love. We now have solid ground to move forward in life. We now have solid ground without resisting what is, just saying, okay, I'm floating right now. That's just what is. I'm looking for solid ground. I don't see it yet. Let me move back to my spiritual practice with a mature hope, looking to show up in a way that is meaningful. Now, when we practice non-resistance in the storms of our lives, we are expressing from that higher consciousness. We are allowing what is to simply be. We are open and receptive to what is so that we can move through it with ease and grace. Now, I love this idea of calling non-resistance welcoming, because non-resistance is a pretty cold term. At least it doesn't fill me with warm fuzzies, right? But that idea of welcoming, of spiritual welcoming, when something shows up, we are bringing it in. We are allowing it to come in. We're filling it and surrounding it with love. For it is love. Love is that power. Wisdom and love. Love is that power that creates that harmony in our life. And I'm not talking about the hue and love, right? The affection that we might see towards one another. I'm talking about that greater love, that boundless love. That love that is ever present, that wells up from within us. That endless source that streams forward and expresses as us when we let it. When we open the door and welcome in our old friend, when we accept our old friend along with its foibles and just say, okay, I know who you are, I love you still. When we surround our old friends with that infinite love, when we allow that to be our experience. Frank says, welcome everything, push away nothing, cannot be done solely by an act of will. To welcome everything is an act of love. And so our practice for this week is to bring this idea, welcome everything, into our being, to allow it to be. And here are some ways in which we can do it. First, do a little self-inquiry. What are you pushing away in this moment in your life? What are you not allowing in? And what area in your life do you have the opportunity to lean into, even if it's a little uncomfortable? Ask yourself those questions. What am I spiritually bypassing? What am I pushing away? And just see if you can lean into it a little bit. So that's our self-inquiry. And then our self-awareness, our knowing, our meditating on, our affirming the idea that you are one with the flow of life, that you are spiritually whole in the flow of life, and that you are non-resistant to what shows up in life. And then finally, the application of love. And we begin with self-love. We surround ourselves with love, drawing upon that infinite source of love within, allowing the harmonizing and healing energy of love to emanate from you, through you, as you, and to practice loving kindness to yourself and to others. To allow that harmonizing energy to flow and be who you are. Our affirmation for this week is on the screen, and I invite you to affirm it with me. Together, open and receptive to what is, I welcome what shows up and allow love to heal and harmonize my life. And so it is. Frank says this. Love is the quality that allows us to welcome everything, not just what we prefer most. Love is the motivation that enables us to move toward fear, not in order to conquer it, but in order to include it so that we may learn from it. In love, there's no separation. Nothing remains isolated from its core, from its care. Why is love the quality that allows us to welcome everything? When we view reality from the vantage point of our personalities, from the small separate self, we are constantly looking for what distinguishes us from one another. We're separating ourselves. We're separating us from each other, from the divine presence. We're creating duality. But when we live from the vantage point of boundless love, we begin to see all the points of connection that join us together. Love breeds love. Love creates love. Love creates that harmonizing energy in the world. And so with that idea, let's take that into our time of meditation and prayer. I'll invite you to take a nice deep cleansing breath, to close your eyes if that feels comfortable, or simply soften your gaze as we move to an experience of the inner from the outer. With a nice deep cleansing breath, we tune into that experience of love and peace. Breathing into this present moment, we accept where we are right here, right now. Whatever thoughts and feelings we are experiencing, we allow them to just be, to drift away. We don't blame or shame them, we just allow them to settle. Breathing into this present moment, I reveal my true self, my true colors. I reveal the love that is endlessly pouring in through and as me. I reveal the wisdom, the divine intelligence being expressed in, through, and as me. I reveal the harmony in life. I joyfully welcome what is. And with peace, I become still. I become one. In the silence. From this higher vantage point, I affirm that I am whole, I am worthy, and I am welcome. I am a welcome presence in this world. From this higher vantage point, I know that I am in the right place at the right time, right now. Expressing, living that truth of who I am, allowing that harmonizing power of boundless love to move in, through, and as me. And as I express that in the world, as I make that a part of my world, I make my world a brighter place. And for that love in our heart, for that deep connection that we experience, that oneness with Spirit, we are joyfully grateful. We are richly, richly blessed. And we give thanks by singing the Alleluia. And so it is. Unity Palo Alto is here to help you discover that spiritual magnificence within you, or help you to live life better through personal growth and spiritual practices. And we're here to help you discover that felt experience of Spirit in your life. If you're brand new to Unity, if this is your first or second time, or you're just checking us out, we invite you to fill out a connection card so that we can get to know you a little bit better and you can get to know us. And I'd like to now take a moment to move into a spiritual practice of affirmative prayer. As we breathe into this present moment, we acknowledge and welcome what is in the world today. Whatever situations, whatever ideas or experiences are happening in the world, we simply welcome them with love. We surround our prayer chest with love, seeing divine love doing its perfect work in each situation, creating harmony within, allowing each person to discover that spiritual magnificence, allowing each person to do life better. We surround these prayers, we surround everyone who has been affected by COVID, everyone who is a caregiver, everyone who has been affected by the fires and whatever's happening and the riots and the shootings and whatever's happening in your space, in your world, whatever you're experiencing. We surround all of those people with boundless love, a love that knows no boundaries, a love that is infinite, a love that is a harmonizing energy. We surround our world in this harmonizing energy now. We also surround our world, national, state, and local leaders in this same prayer, seeing them making wise and loving decisions for peace on earth, goodwill, equality, and justice for all people. And for this time together, for this sacred celebration that we experience and express, we are joyfully grateful, we are richly blessed, and we say, thank you, Spirit. And so it is. Amen. Well, it is the third Sunday of the month. Fourth Sunday of the month. And I'm going to hand it over to Joe, who is going to lead us in our fourth Sunday experience.
Today we are going to bless each other, so I invite you to extend your hands, and the blessing that we say to each other, we say, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ you are. And so it is. Amen.
One day there'll be no more war, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because one day, 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 one day.
And now we move into an experience and expression of living in the flow of life as we prepare our love offering. I invite you to surround your love offering with your love and bless it in your own unique and special way. There's so many ways in which you can give to our spiritual community, to our spiritual center. You can do a donation, and we also have a special. We also have a special matching donation going on through the end of December, and that is a chorus of angels, where everything that you give through your automatic donations, that's above and beyond what you were giving before March, will be matched up to $25,000. If you're not giving through automatic donation, there's an opportunity for you to start. Whatever you start will be matched as well. And so we're so grateful for everyone who is being of support to our spiritual community, for everyone who is supporting our thrivingness. We are thriving, and I'm so excited about that. So our affirmation for our love offering is divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Would you affirm that with me together? Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. And so it is. Thank you all very much for being here today. I think we're going to move right into our prayer for protection. So if you will join me in saying, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Love and blessings, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.